Good morning, Amit.
Tim, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great.
Hello.
How are you?
Very good, Tim. Good to see you. Good, Joanna. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, good. Doing great.
Very good. Look, good to see you both. Let me just change your. Do you want to change your name to first name, say last name, and then the company name?
Oh
Can you do
yeah.
that?
Okay. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we're also live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, other channels.
Amazing.
All right. I think Tanmay, if you can, yeah, Rohit should be here any moment. Yeah. Rohit.
Hey, hi.
Rohit, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, wow, wonderful. Rohit, if you can change your name, first name, last name, and company name.
Oh, yes.
All right, so we're good to go. Can we? So we're already live, guys. I'll just start the recording and then we'll chat some live audience in. Okay, we're good.
Okay.
All right, here we go. All righty.
So no jokes anymore, right?
So only one request, guys. If you just keep your phones away, or at least 5 feet, 6 feet away, that would be wonderful. And let's give our 100% attention to this session. That way we'll be able to respect our audience. So, all right, let's start. Guys, thank you so much for coming over this morning, this evening, this afternoon. I think people are joining from all over the places. So please accept my greetings. Let me introduce our first speaker, Joanna. She's being a lady on the panel. Let's honor her first. Joanna is actually a passionate nurse. I mean, she spent almost 6, 7, 8 years being a nurse, and then moving on from being a nurse in Philippines and then in Canada, she has progressed into technology as well. Now she is helping a lot of people with technology, with virtual reality, with a lot of patient care, which was perhaps not achievable as being a nurse, but then she has assumed a bigger role of helping patients with technology, and she is doing fabulous stuff in virtual reality to take good care of patients around the globe. Joanna, welcome on board. Looking forward to speaking with you.
Hi, Amit. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. So this is my second time at Photo Legal. Thank you so much, Photo Legal team.
Yes.
My name is Joanna. I'm the CEO founder of RealityWell. It's a virtual reality platform for senior living. It's a part of a parent company, which is VR Vision Inc. It is a virtual reality enterprise training solution. So we've been in the virtual reality space since 2016, since like virtual reality was out in the market. Glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Joanna. Thank you very much. Looking forward to speaking to you again. Tim has joined us from Berlin, Germany, and he has worked in companies like PwC and now moved on to healthcare. His passion is elderly care. He wants to cut the chase, cut the bureaucracy for elderly people in Germany. Elderly people or everybody else have to go through bureaucracy. And he wants to make sure that if people are entitled to something, some benefits, Tim is the guy to go to. He will let you have your entitlements easily. Especially he's currently focusing on elderly, and we'll talk more to Tim about what exactly is it doing to help elderly in this domain. Tim, welcome.
Thank you, Amit. Well summarized. Yeah, my name is Tim, and really a pleasure to be here in such an international audience. And yeah, also happy to share later on my learnings, especially when it comes to pushing one of the least digitalized areas in healthcare, elderly care, and also maybe sharing some growth hacks for all of you who might listen, and also curious about your opinions.
Excellent, excellent team. Looking forward to speaking with you. Rohit Ghosh. Rohit is again an achiever in his life. He is from IIT Bombay, which is actually an MIT of India. He has been a TED speaker and author. He's also been helping kids learning AI ML. He has over 100+ lectures on YouTube in which he has been training kids on AI, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. He has been part of this program called Mentor of Change, in which he's also training a school, I think Saint Joseph's, a school in which he's training kids and students on AI, ML, and the power of AI. I saw his TEDx speech as well, which is superb. He's trying to tell people how AI can come to your rescue, what problems AI can solve in healthcare. He's also a founder of a company called Cure.ai, which is also our client. We happen to work with Cure.ai and Prashant and their team for protecting their intellectual properties. So Rohit, welcome aboard.
Thanks, Amit. Thanks a lot. I mean, that was a lot of achievements about me that myself I had forgotten a long time. But thanks for rejigging the memories. So I graduated from college, IIT, long back, and then after that, primarily from a data science background. Then 2016 is when we sort of started Cure. And then over the last 5 years, we have been building AI solutions for medical imaging. I'm primarily working on sort of interpreting chest X-rays, head CTs, all those medical images using AI. And the idea is that specifically in places where you do not have healthcare as accessible and affordable, can you use AI to make an impact? And that's what we have been striving for. Thankfully, today we are almost in 46, 47 odd countries and have been having at least some meaningful impact in, I think, different parts of the world. That's what we strive for. And I think, as Amit already mentioned, there's also part of a lot of work that I've been doing for sort of making AI, the learning how making sort of as a subject AI more easier for people to learn, and have been trying to strive to do that as a sort of pro bono thing for a lot of places. So that's about me. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Yes, so let's start with you, Rohit. Since we have been talking about AI, and let me just take you from that. I mean, the term ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning, have been used loosely by a lot of people. I mean, this technology is not new. It's been used for over two decades. Then the name is perhaps new. The jazz is perhaps new. People find it fancy to use this term in everything that they do. It's AI ML based. Can you decodify it for our viewers today?
No, that's absolutely correct. Actually, so I would like to make a distinction between the two words, and it's a distinction with difference. So AI and machine learning, right? So AI is more of a marketing term, I believe. So anything in technicality, AI is even a small program that you use to add up all 5 numbers. That in all essence also could be sort of somewhat called AI. So AI is anything where a program is, you're giving some set of instruction to the program and then sort of it does. And that definition, as you said, right? I mean, 50 years back, the term was coined back in 1956. And from there onwards, what you called AI has sort of changed over the years. So simple things like, as I said, simple programs would be called AI. And then there were slightly bit more modifications in terms of what would be called AI. And today, I think as of last 5-6 years, a specific part of machine. So machine learning is actually, on the other hand, it's not a marketing term. It's actually a proper science where there's a particular, it's a more of a subfield of statistics where you're trying to sort of make a program learn to detect or do tasks without sort of giving explicit instruction, right? So normally if you do explicit instruction, that means you say, you see some circumstances and you act accordingly and you code that as part of the algorithm. In machine learning, what you do is you sort of just give the algorithm a bunch of circumstances and you just tell them this is how someone has reacted to it or what was the outcome of it. And the idea is with a lot of data, the machine sort of learns to do that. And that field is called machine learning. And within machine learning, something of last 5 years has been a specific field called deep learning. where you sort of do this in a specific architecture. I won't go into those technical details, but that's what has sort of been called lately as AI. So that AI term has been used for long enough and loosely, and fair enough. I think what you call AI in 50s, you can't call that AI anymore. But yeah, machine learning on that other hand is actually a statistical science field, and within that, what you sort of right now is the state of the art is called deep learning. That is what is AI right now.
Wonderful, excellent. Thank you for the explanation and clarifying the doubts in the beginning itself. What is the biggest problem Cure is trying to solve using AI ML?
I think honestly, the mission statement when we started in 2016, and we started in India, at that point of time, the idea was how can you make healthcare more accessible and affordable? And I know it sounds very generic, or a lot of companies trying to solve for that, but honestly, that was the only intention, and specifically in India, because in India, healthcare is actually very fragmented. You possibly for the audience out there on the call and from different parts of the world, India has a very fragmented healthcare in the sense that only few of the metro cities and all of that actually get a very sophisticated high care quality. But if you start going to some of the other parts of the country, you might not. And so we started building solutions to actually solve for that problem. Honestly, we did not think of a bigger picture. We just thought what we can do for India. And we solved for tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is actually one of the most the biggest pandemic. Actually, tuberculosis killed more people than COVID has killed in the last 1 year, right? So it's a statistic. People obviously have been worried with COVID because that has sort of taken the media attention, but TB is that thing. And India is the TB capital of the world. It has the highest burden of TB. So that's where we started solving for. But the point we suddenly realized is that that problem is actually there in all parts of the world, right? Obviously, Southeast Asia, Africa, some of the places where the healthcare infrastructure is not as great. But even in parts that seem like the healthcare infrastructure has really developed, there are also a lot of pockets actually exist where you do not have expert trained radiologists who are available continuously. And even in whichever country you want to take, there would always be pockets where that healthcare is not accessible. And then we realized that problem, what we started off solving, specifically for India, could be very well generalized across the globe. And that's what we are trying to do today, trying to sort of help places where you do not have expert radiologists there, right? Whether it could be after 8 p.m. in the night at, in remote locations, or for that matter, in tier 2, tier 3 cities in different parts of the world. Wherever you don't have that, the AI makes that possible for you to get a high quality of care then and there. I think that's what we have been able to solve so far. Somewhat.
Yes, excellent, wonderful. 5 years, 47 countries. The growth is phenomenal. Congratulations on that, Rohit. Let me move on to Tim. Tim, you're trying to address a very niche problem of elderly people, trying to cut the bureaucracy and help them access the attention, the benefit that they're entitled to fast. Tell us a little bit more about how are you doing what you are doing, the how part.
Sure. Well, I mean, as I said in the beginning, elderly care is one of the least digitalized fields in healthcare, and it's because of the user in the end is the one who controls actually what you can do in terms of solutions. I mean, AI would be nice, but it's later on the timeline for such kind of users. That's why we try to solve the direct problems to have a fast go-to-market. And in this case, I mean, I'm just referring to Germany, but probably also applies to a lot of other countries. We noticed that 75% in Germany of elderly people don't use their benefit entitlement. And then the question is, so why? And we saw that mostly the services which are provided are not even known by a lot of people. So it's more, a health literacy problem. Second, we have a very complicated process of claiming the budgets in terms of cash or non-cash benefits. And third, it's also about, all this contract and application process. This is the problems we identified by, working directly at the customer, in this case, the elderly. And so what we are trying now to do is really do a step-by-step approach. First, solving that needs, bringing on traction for us, and then later on extending the services to end up in a 365-degree platform where we do the whole contract management, but also all the services with the focus of the elderly. In this case, another specific part of it is that the decision maker itself is not always the elderly, but are the relatives itself. So you have to care really about the user, making it even more complicated if you have two users, right? So in this case, this was also one of our learnings, to also make it as simple as possible, but still pragmatic also for all the users. And yeah, so over the timeline, obviously we also want to pursue and go for AI and virtual care and all the technologies we have in mind when we look at the 2021 trends. But yeah, first it's important to really get the customer, and then later on making use of the data and adding more and more commercial models around it.
So firstly, Tim, you have made me very comfortable staying in India. I always thought that these problems of not bureaucracy and people not going to the government department, so much of paperwork was only in India and Asia. But I'm more comfortable living in India now. You told me after mentioning Germany also faces the problem. So by the way, coming to the question again, so you said people in the elderly people are not getting these because of lack of education, how to get it, and also there's a lot of paperwork bureaucracy. Now, so you help them to get the entitlements. So is there a platform? How do you use technology to get these elderly people come to you? What's the bridge, technology bridge? Is there a technology bridge?
It's basically in the beginning we start as a web version, right? So you can access it via browser, but also possible to use via a mobile phone, because even in Germany we see that the relatives who are managing it, mostly above 50 years old, female, who are surfing mobile. So it's fast, it's working on a web version, but also accessible via mobile. And yeah, it needs to be very simple, right? So it has to be a very simple workflow, which we are making and shortening up to very few steps and automating the processes. Also trying to do automatic contract management later on. So this is basically the core technology behind it in the beginning. Process automation and very simple access.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yes, because I think elderly, unfortunately, fortunately, they have not been exposed to gadgets in an early age, and just like any other country in the world, elderly are technically little not so savvy, for the lack of better words. And you making the process very simple, definitely gonna come a long way, helping them get the entitlements. Excellent, Tim. I'll come back to you. Thank you so much for the initial setup. Thank you. Joanna, over to you. From practicing nurse for over a decade and now getting into virtual reality, what's happening here?
Hi, Amit. Yes, so it's been a very long journey for me. So just the transition alone is completely different worlds. Just imagine that, from all the way direct care for a patient, being in my scrub suits or being in my white coat, all the way right now in a business attire, dealing with software, which I really don't have a background with, or business, which I also don't have a background with. It's totally different worlds, but both of it is something I really love. So that's why the merge for both worlds is very easy for me. The transition was easy. First of all, I really worked on my strengths, on what I've learned being a nurse, and I transitioned to that being a CEO entrepreneur. And also my main thing from the beginning of time being a nurse is patient care. I just really transitioned it smoothly to a more effective way or more innovative way to get in touch to these patients. And what a better way to do that is through technology. And virtual reality was out in the market 2016, but it was, of course, been done years before that. So we got that opportunity that we know that this will really become big, and not just in the healthcare world, but in different industries. So specifically what we do for RealityWell, it is a virtual reality platform for senior living. This is a way for them to be transported into different worlds. So it could be in an exploration type of environment where they can also interact. It's also a way for them to decrease their depression or anxiety because you're in that virtual world that you don't even need to travel or see so many people physically, especially with the pandemic. It was very hard for them. You could be in this exploration type of virtual reality world. And at the same time, they could be an expedition cruise where they could travel in different parts of the world, landmarks, sceneries, events, and which they can't do anymore because they're either in their stuck in the wheelchair or they're bedridden, stuck in a retirement home. And last, we also create exercise games. So this is good for physiotherapists, recreation therapists to increase their cognitive function, brain and motor function. And at the same time, all of this, by the way, is also tracked with our analytics. So there's a way we could have an analytical feature that, okay, this kind of environment or this kind of exercise games increases more retention for them or increases more brain and motor function for them. So all of this also based on our clients' inputs and based on also me as a healthcare professional, we create applications not just for the sake of creating it, but also we have a basis to their existing, for example, diagnosis or their existing condition and their situation right now. So that's how we increase the quality of life for these clients, specifically for senior living, meaning around 60 years old, 65 years old above, around 80 to 85. But it can also be with adults, it could also be with 30 to 40 years old in a clinic or in after post-surgery that they're ongoing pain medication or they're ongoing physiotherapy exercises. So it has a lot of uses, but right now, senior living is our main focus.
Wonderful. Excellent, Joanna. So one follow-up question, give us some numbers. How many patients are coming on your platform and getting treated? How many doctors, physiotherapists are coming and treating these patients? In how many countries are you operating? Give us some numbers.
Yes, thanks so much, Amit. So right now we're currently active in Canada and a lot as well in USA. So mostly just North America right now. So RealityWell is a branch of a parent company, which I mentioned a while ago is VR Vision Inc. I could still say it's still our baby. It's still a startup, which we incorporated 2019 because the parent company was incorporated 2016. So our numbers are still rapidly growing. And it usually starts, for example, they do a pilot program, which is 12 to 15 headsets. And then eventually the whole retirement community will adapt into it. So we usually start with small numbers like that, and usually they increase it to 30 to 50 after a while. Usually our focus right now is senior living. We are not into we're not so much in the healthcare team yet. We do not the doctor specifically, but we do the healthcare staff. Since we're very versed in the virtual reality, we create a virtual reality training for them. So that's where the staff goes into. So while the clients gets the RealityWell exploration, exercise, expedition platform, the staff gets the virtual reality training. So I'm just going to give an example. So for example, we create virtual reality training, such as dementia care. Be in the patient's shoes. What does a dementia person with dementia would see or hear? So we create this kind of CG type of environment, computer graphics environment in virtual reality, so they could be in their shoes, so they could understand and give a better care for these clients.
Excellent. I think all these years I've been thinking virtual reality is only used for gaming, but now people are making good use of it, the actual use of it. Thank you so much
exactly.
for bringing it to people and making people's life better. Thank you, Joanna. Over to you, Rohit. Rohit, in our lives, Rohit, they say that you must have a project which must not finish in your lifetime. For example, John F. Kennedy had a goal, had a big big, hairy, audacious goal of putting the man on moon. Okay, so he died 6 years before the man went to moon, but he had a goal of sending a man to the moon. That was a big, hairy, audacious goal. Similarly, Boeing had a goal that Boeing was initially only focusing on fighter planes and all those areas, but they had a big, hairy, audacious goal of starting a commercial flight in 1950s. So what is the big, hairy, audacious goal of Cure? What do you want to achieve in the next 10 years?
That's very interesting. One that I possibly put a lot of nights sleep, I think, onto.
Wow.
And I mean, it's sort of the challenge with the times is that we thought honestly, and I think we just celebrated our 5-year anniversary just a couple of months back. And while we were doing that, we were sort of in the team, we were trying to think that what we started off with, like what we were thinking 5 years back. And we realized that what was 5 years back seemed impossible. And we have suddenly, like in the last 5 years, we have actually grown beyond that, what we even thought in our wildest dreams. So in essence, it's very difficult to put a goal because times is changing so fast that we actually think, right? I mean, if you had asked me this 5 years, at least let's say even a year back, I would definitely tend to think the big goal was, having AI. You should not be needing human intervention in interpretation of images. Much like you would sort of don't need to have drivers for driving cars, right? Similarly, you should not need to have radiologists for reading images, because that should be something that can be done, and possibly its evidence shows it's being done better by AI. But then that's a year back. I think today a 10-year goal would possibly be slightly even more than that. I think we do not want healthcare as a function to sort of happen to go, you should not be needed to access a hospital or somewhere else, or you have to go to somewhere to sort of access your healthcare. Your healthcare should be something you should be able to do at home, right? And the healthcare should be proactive rather than reactive, right? Your healthcare checks, I mean, Fitbit and all of this are sort of movements in that direction. But honestly, a lot of work that we're trying to sort of also do is sort of make healthcare accessible to the patient directly, and possibly not even patients, but people who are normal, everyone like us who are sort of, your imaging and all of that could actually be completely done at home. So yeah, that's a goal, right? That's what I think is it seems like a fairly large goal, but again, I do not know, 10 years is a very long time. We might sort of, given the trend of times, we might sort of get there earlier than that. But yeah, healthcare, you should not be needed to step out. That's
excellent. Superb goal to have. I think the similar goal Bill Gates had when he wanted to put a computer in everybody's home. When a computer used to be there in one office, so one building used to have one computer, and he had a goal of putting a computer in every household. A superb goal to have. I don't know why people like you want to cut away the human from reading images, the CT scans and the X-rays. Other people, they don't want humans to drive the cars. They want autonomous cars. What do you want humans to do, man?
Sit and enjoy life. Life is a precious gift, man. I mean, we should all just sit back and enjoy, right?
Yes.
Part of life.
Absolutely.
After going through the monotonous thing.
Yes, absolutely. Fabulous goal, Rohit. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I'm 100% sure you will not take a decade, perhaps just the next 2 or 3 years, and you should have think of a bigger goal, larger goal after 2-3 years. All the best for that. Tim, so give us some numbers in Germany. How many people you are helping every month, every year? What are the numbers, and how is the German government reacting to what you are doing? Are you their enemy number one, who is trying to extract money out of the government and give it to the old people?
So tough question, because we just started the venture, but just giving you some hopefully sufficient answer. So we are pre-revenue, just that's for sure. We are currently trying to bridge our end-to-end service now by providing it partly manually via phone. So part of it is digitalized because our MVP will be published in October. So we already guided more than 20 elderly people along the process, bringing it to a satisfactory level where they get access. So as I said, really in the beginning, but our other metrics we had as an early stage startup are quite good. For just instance, the click-through rate, basically, which is from impressions to clicks, is around 10%. For B2C, it's quite high, especially for elderly care. So 10% of people are really looking at our services then. Yeah, and trying to push now all the figures up, right? So that's the goal.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And, answering the second question about the German healthcare system. In the end, it's about, well, the insurance companies who might feel that it's a challenge. Well, but we are still too small that it will hurt for them, to be very honest. And I think once we also demonstrated that it's not just about making given access, we also can do some benefits for the insurance companies by doing some quality assured process where they don't even have to manage all the false contracts which land on their tables. So trying to also reduce the rate of failures and reducing capacity at the insurance companies.
Wonderful. So, Tim, we did not touch upon your why. So there has to be a very strong calling of what you're doing. What's your why? This dude, Simon Sinek has said, know your why first. So what's your why? You have been working in PwC, you had a very cushy job, and you came in to help the elderly folks out there in Germany. What's your calling? What's your why?
Well, my why, as you said, it was Simon Sinek. Sinek is basically really doing an impact, because I have been in other industries beforehand, right? As a consultant and, doing some digital transformation programs and all nice, but in the end, it's still about the people, right? And we are looking at people which have the biggest problems when they get older, as we heard from Joanna, dementia and so on. These are the real problems we need to solve, right? And now everybody's building some technology out there, whether it's AI or VR, but in the end, it only brings value if it really comes to the end and the hand of the customer, right? So, and that's why it really drives me every day, seeing or hoping that we can make a big impact.
There's a very strong why, Tim. Let me tell you that, because you know what? I have two kids, okay? They are growing, and the elder one's about 9 years old. And as they are growing up, they are creating their own worlds. As they grow up, they will have more friends, then go on, marriages, their kids, and they will tend to forget who raised them. So I think we tend to forget our elders, our parents, and it's a very strong why. I'm sure you're going to do a great job with them. Congratulations on that. Thank you so much, Tim, for sharing that story with us and trusting with us. Joanna, you said a fantastic thing in the last round. I don't know whether you realize it or not. You know what? In our lives, we have been told, if you're poor in maths, get up early in the morning and do maths. If you're poor in English, do English first and then do something else. So we have always been told to work on our weaknesses, always, and make them better. And I realized a few years back that it's a wrong teaching. We should work on our strengths and pay somebody to do our weaknesses, okay? If I'm poor at Excel sheets, I should not be learning Excel sheets. I should take somebody here to do Excel sheets, right? So you mentioned that the learnings and the lesson which you got while you were a nurse, you worked on your strengths. And those strengths you used to build a fabulous VR company. Now, this is a very strong value. It's about value. It's about understanding what's going to work, what's not going to work. If you don't keep working on our weaknesses, we're never going to succeed. We have to keep working on our strengths. Can you share one or two more tips like this with our viewers to basically which basically help people to grow faster? Working on strengths is one of them. How can somebody grow faster? What are your views on that, apart from working on the strengths?
Thanks, Amit. Very good question. I think I've been told with this a couple of times just because my journey is very, not the traditional way of being an entrepreneur. I think I also would rely on you should really trust your team. I value so much the team that we have right now. I know it's really hard in the beginning because most especially starting anything from scratch. But if you really have the trust on your core team, we're still growing right now. We are 12 in our team. And this is from the parent company, and it's the same people for Reality Well as well. If you don't give the trust and to delegate this kind of tasks to other people, it's really hard for you to grow. And sometimes for me, I'm very particular on certain things. I think just because being a nurse, I'm very critical on little details and little things. I want everything to be organized. I want everything to be polished, like up to the point. But sometimes like you can't really control everything, and you really need to give the trust to your teammates. And if you don't have that, you're really not going to grow as a team, and we won't be on this level of our company if I didn't give that in the beginning. But it like people might say like, oh, how can you give trust right away? Well, especially a starting company. You can't. You really can't. Like, I have people before from the team that unfortunately we had to let go, and unfortunately not at par on being part of the team. But that's how it is. That's business. It's really like ups and downs. And sometimes that's your way to like learn to it. Like you really have to live to it. You really need to give your full 100% into it. But also at the same time, you need to be give the trust, but also be cautious. You'll know it in yourself if that person is not the right fit for you, if that teammate is not the right fit for you. And right now, I'm very proud of my developer team. My dev team is really great. Like they're doing 110% or more, and through that, they are really our bread and butter to keep the company really going.
Excellent, wonderful. Great. One more great tip: work on your strengths and trust your team. This dude sitting out here, he also said, his name is Henry Ford. You know what he said? Hire people who are smarter than you. I mean, a lot of, exactly. And it's a very strong statement. He always said, Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, they always hired people who are smarter than them. And then the question comes, if I'm going to hire a person who's smarter than me, is he going to kick my butt and go out and take my team, take my business? So Rohit, how do you tackle that?
No, that's
yeah. Eyes for Rohit. Go ahead, Rohit. Yeah.
No, Joanna, please feel free to take that, and I can obviously add on to what you said. But feel free to take that.
Oh yes, I actually have a take on that as well. Probably you could maybe give a more detailed explanation. I think like what I mentioned, we had some teammates that we had to let go just because you give your full trust right away. But that's really part of like a business, like that's really part of like entrepreneurship and like startup. And sometimes that some things you just can't control. But some things, there's still a bigger picture. There's still a lot of things you can't control. So you can control to let them go, and still can control to make the team better and stronger. Yeah, go ahead, right?
No, I mean, I just have only counter question to you, Amit. So if we don't hire smart people, what do we do? I mean, that's a bigger risk, right? I mean, you hire non-smart people and they stay back. Right?
Sure, absolutely. That's exactly what I think Richard Branson said, I guess, right? Richard Branson said you got to train your people. And somebody asked him that, what if, and you train the people, make them better, and what if they don't train? Something of that sort, basically. So what I'm trying to tell you is, yes, I totally agree with you. I mean, I'm a strong, staunch believer of hiring people who are smarter than me. But the problem here is this, guys. If suppose you are here, and your junior is here, okay? And he wants to work under a boss who he learns from, okay? So you as a boss have to constantly go up and becoming better, and then hire smarter people, and then constantly go up becoming better. Okay. So when you hire a smart person, it is your responsibility to keep becoming better every goddamn day. Right. So because smart people will not want to work with dumb bosses. They want to look up to you. Okay, so you have to constantly work towards yourself, on your business to become better and be a leader who they can get inspiration from, they can learn from. That's very important. Otherwise, smart people will not work with dumb bosses. That's a very important thing. So Rohit, so what Joanna also mentioned, that in different words, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you will need a team, right? So in your case, Cure, Rohit, Cure is expanding leaps and bounds. I think you also have got a fabulous leader in Prashant and yourself and a lot of other senior people in the team. So what is working for Cure? What values are working for Cure? What are your core values in Cure?
I think this was something we laid this down while we were doing that 5-year meet, and this sort of came up. I think the three things: trust, freedom, and responsibility. Those are the three things that are sort of driving. If I have to sort of summarize Cure culture, this is.
Can you explain this, all three factors?
Yeah, absolutely. So trust is basically the fact that I think Joanna already explained on that. So I think it's the same idea that you need to trust the team, right? There's no way you can work with a team that you do not trust. And that just sort of, I mean, when you're hiring, you sort of make sure that the first litmus test for hiring someone is the fact that are you able to trust that person? And if you think that you will have to sort of, sort of do that monitoring or any kind of that kind of a thing, right? Then I don't think that's a right hire, right? I mean, that's the first step that I have when I'm hiring people, that I cannot be working with someone whom I need to, do that monitoring at a close time. So that's the first thing. So that's trust. The next is freedom. So if you're getting people whom are smarter than you, whom you trust, then you also have to give them the freedom, right? The freedom is basically the fact that they should be able to take decisions, and you should not again be. I hardly, for my team, and I hardly sort of interfere in the decision making process, right? I try and sort of be as far away from it. Because that kind of freedom is what I think people who are normally smarter. If you're hiring smarter people and then you're still taking decisions for them, that sort of is counterproductive, right? So you have got to trust, got to give them the freedom. And with freedom, I think this is a movie dialogue. This one I remember, that with greater freedom comes greater responsibility, or something on those lines, right? But that's the third one, which is
Spider-Man, yes.
Dark Knight, that you have, if you're giving freedom, then you also have to give that with the responsibility. People should feel that they own that, and they should feel responsible for it, right? I don't want to. The reason why I want to give freedom is the fact that people should own up to it, right? And that's how it has always been at Cure, right? I mean, just people have come in and they have sort of taken up things and they've managed it and they've run with it, right? Your age, your pedigree doesn't matter. You are happy to take that on and challenge it and pick that up. Feel free to do that. And that's how I think what has worked out very well. So yeah, that's about it. Trust, freedom, and responsibility.
Superb. I think those are great values. And you know what? The best thing is Rohit, you guys have sat together and thought about it. A lot of times companies just keep running for years and years, then they don't even know what is working for them, what is not working for them, what are their values. They don't know nothing about the business. It's a superb thing you guys sit and think about. Thinking is a very important exercise. So switching this topic a bit, Rohit, IP. What's your take on intellectual property?
Sorry?
IP, intellectual property. Intellectual property.
Yeah, honestly, when we started off 5 years back, again, it was not something we really took to heart very, I think closely. And again, coming from a data science background, you believe more in sort of, open sourcing papers, open sourcing data sources. That's sort of data science. You come from that computer science background. You do that a lot of it, right?
15 publications you have done, right?
Yes, I've done 15 or so publications. I've possibly waved a lot more abstracts and all that. So, and you're normally always sharing knowledge with people, right? You're trying to tell people how to do. That's a thing you do in computer science, right? So it was very sort of when we first had the discussion about IP and patenting things out, that sort of seemed very counterintuitive to me. Because why do you want to protect that, right? Why do you want to sort of protect something? Ideas to sort of build that, and you want to, and because I've been teaching also AI and all the other things on the side, right? My entire goal was always about how to take the knowledge that I learn and bring it to more people, right? So it seemed counterintuitive at the first time, right? And then other thing was, I mean, obviously I don't have any legal background, and I remember I sort of sitting down and sort of actually understanding what patent laws are, what kind of claims you can actually make when you're patenting, and it was nightmare for me. I think the first time we did our first patent, I still remember it. I actually read through everything. I sort of like, okay, what are claims? What are other people have filed and all that? And I was like, this is nonsense, right? You're doing this so much. But then over a period of time, you realize that the fact that how important that part of that entire process is, right? Today, I think we have close to 7 or 8 patents and all of that. I think a couple of them have on my name and all of that. And you realize that, in a fast changing world, right? In a place where, your sort of things are sort of changing very quickly, having that kind of an advantage where your IP is protected, where you're sort of being able to tell that this is, and not just to one, there are 2 significant advantages I've realized, and this is sort of in a very frank and honest conversation. One is obviously to people who are funding you, who are sort of running the business for you. They understand the fact that kind of work that you're doing, right? And it's not just about patents, it's all the work that you're doing, papers you're publishing, all of that, right? That all counts as the intellectual property. And that gives you an idea of the quality of work you're doing, right? I think that is very important, not only the funder, but also most important has been to the customer, the user who's actually using the solution. The moment they understand that there's an IP, firstly, there has to be a good IP. So all your papers, everything has to be there. And some of it also needs to be protected, right? That gives an idea that the quality of solution that you're building is actually how technologically advanced you are. That a lot of times, and this sort of relates to the first question you had asked me. A lot of people today use AI very loosely. You are using AI, everyone says we are using AI, right? How do you tell them that the AI you are actually using is actually the most cutting edge thing? And actually that you have built a legitimate AI that is actually at the edge of the world where things have not been done. And this thing, I realized that after we did that first patent and papers we were already publishing, but to protect that IP for the first time, I think that's when I learned that, what that value actually it conveys to someone else, right? Because they might not, everyone's sort of hearing AI every time, any other conversation. But to understand the quality that you're building, I think that's IP actually serves the best purpose.
Wonderful. Thank you for bringing the subject home. I think coming from your mouth makes a lot of sense. If I would have told them about the importance of IP, they would have said, yeah, okay, all right, fine. But it absolutely correct. So you know what? It differentiates a leader and a follower. That's exactly what this guy, Steve Jobs said. Your IP differentiates a leader and a follower. The person who innovates first, protects first, moves forward, and leads the way. Very strong statement by Steve Jobs. Tim, coming to you, circling back to you. So, have you been funded? What's your roadmap on funding and stopping the competition? How do you plan to do all of that?
So actually want to start going into funding discussions already this week on Thursday. So a perfect time to ask me this question. Although we still wait till we have the MVP done in October, because this allows you a better negotiation position, obviously, after done the MVP. And overall, you always have to start earlier, right? So I think it's quite important also to understand what kind of funding you want to have. You want to invest at our stage, or already VC money, which comes with some other hurdles then probably. So we already talked to a lot today. I had a call with an angel investor, but it's also always good to learn already quite early about it, but not getting too much distracted from the real work, which is basically the work for the customer, right? So
I'm losing you in between, Tim. I'm not sure that's with me or with others as well.
That's correct.
Okay.
Keep on losing you, Tim.
Yeah.
The German internet here, unfortunately, in Berlin.
All right.
Well, I just it's always about training up, right? So the focus between doing real work with the customer, developing the product while still already starting very early, and because funding process from my experience. So but the focus will be the last quarter and of next year.
Okay. I lost the last part, but I assume that you're working on it and talking to different people. There are different types of money. There's dumb money, there's smart money. Dumb money will give you money and will never question you. Smart money will also offer you their network, their advice, their mentorship. I think we should always go for smart money and not take dumb money when you're going for investors. And about IP, you said it's very important. And that maybe moving on, currently I think there's no IP, I think you said, but moving on there will be when you are incorporating more technologies into your business. Great, Joanna. So coming back to you again, what's your take on investors? Where are you on that stage? Are you seeking some investment? IP, how are you so Tim also mentioned very one wonderful thing is that sometimes getting investment becomes your full-time job. I mean, you're only running after investment. You forget your job was to run this company and to develop product. And because investors do take up a lot of your time, sometimes also pull you from one hand, one leg, your hair. So how do you manage all of that?
Hi, Amit. So until to this point, we're still funded by our clients. We're self-funded, so both parent company and Reality Well. Like what you said, it's a full-time gig. It's a full-time job almost that you have to be doing it almost every day. And right now, just the flow of our projects from the parent company, it's really overwhelming. And actually, we're in the process of hiring more people just to add more development team. We're still very actively seeking for it, but it's not like something we do every day. If we have interests, because some investors just email us directly, then of course we talk to them, we tell them the situation and where we're at. But yeah, right now it's still ongoing, still in the process. We haven't found the right partner, I guess, because we always want to seek it like not just a monetary wise type of investment. We also wanted, like we mentioned, a partnership type of investment. We want to have that person who would really love VR, who has passionate in VR and really trust on what we do. Not just giving us the money, but also being part of us as a team who would hold our hand and like push us up to the next level, either like maybe a different continent, because we're looking very actively on Asia and very actively in Europe in the next, I don't know, 3-5 years. We don't know yet. Depends really on the growth. But also with the parent company, it becomes so big now, I mean, that it's a bit really hard, especially with the IP on what we should patent. But Reality Well, it's still a startup, still like our baby. It's more appealing for the investors and easier to invest. And since it's very hyper focused in one area only, and we actually get more interest with it. And but that's both true. Are very active right now. Yeah.
So yeah, I've seen this in the US. People want to work in a very, very niche area. For example, let's say I was trained in Motorola and there my mentors in the US, they were saying I will do patents and I will do software and I will only do AI and I will not do machine learning. So to that level of specification, they want to just focus on a very niche area. In the US, investors, if they want to do, let's say, invest in VR, they will do VR and deep into VR. They will not touch any other technology because they understand the space. They're more comfortable talking about it, dealing with it, understand the future of that. So that's a very good. In India, people, I think, are a little more generalist than specific tools and skills. But yes, we have a question for YouTube. How do you see legal and ethical challenges? 1 second, let me read a question from Palvi Bhatia. Pallavi, thank you so much for asking. How do you see legal and ethical challenges which arise when we include AI in healthcare? Pallavi Bhatia, Rohit, you want to take it up? How do you see legal and ethical challenges which arise when we include AI in healthcare?
No, that's a very interesting question, and that has it has such a long answer that you can actually spend the entire webinar on this. But yeah. I'll possibly try and keep as short as possible. So legally, yes, there are regulatory bodies. So thankfully there are. So you cannot just go and claim that you can just do everything and everything under the sun. So you have to go through a regulatory body, FDA in US, CE in Europe. I don't think outside Europe and US there's a lot of regulatory bodies for AI. What you have is mostly registration and all of that in each country. But primarily, those are the two main regulatory bodies, and there you have to sort of be very clear about what the AI is building, what it is capable to do for what population and all of that, right? So legally, that's the first challenge. Legally, it's not really as big of a challenge. There's a legal bound on what the AI can do, and that is very strictly specified in as per regulatory findings, regulatory filing. In terms of ethical challenges, that's possibly somewhere where it's in the gray area, because AI is obviously a very new field in that sense, and the role of AI, it's the role of AI that is not very clear, right? And what is the AI supposed to do? And what happens if someone takes a decision based on AI and then something adverse happens? Legally, that is still protected, because legally, in most places, except for a few certain particular disease which cure is approved by the WHO for, in certain disease areas, cure is actually approved to give out a diagnosis completely autonomously without involving any human intervention. AIs, but in most of the other cases, it's normally radiologist or a human reader physician who's interpreting on behalf of the AI, right? Who's taking the AI output and then taking a decision. So the legal responsibility lies with them. And I think to that extent, the ethical responsibility also sort of automatically transfers onto them. But again, ethics is a lot more than just legal, right? So there's a ethical responsibility if something goes wrong, right? So in that essence, there are some design challenges that you can solve for, but then that's only about it, right? I mean, there are so many other things that AI has to do, and honestly, I don't think the role of AI till it becomes very absolutely black and white clear, right? I think there's going to be a lot of more debates on that, and as the AI actually starts taking up more roles in the healthcare space, there's going to be a lot more challenges and debates that we're going to see. So I think that's the space we are in. I don't think we have a definite black and white answer of we are ethically right or wrong.
I have a follow-up question to that, Rohit. You know what? In 1997, you might have heard about the IBM Deep Blue project, in which they were trying to teach a computer using AI how to play chess. Yeah. Now, this computer was trained how to play chess using AI, and he was placed against Garry Kasparov. He was the chess champion at that time. The computer lost to Garry in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
In the second match, the computer lost to Garry in about 1 hour. The third match, the computer lost to Garry in 4 hours, then lost to Garry in 8 hours. And in fifth match, the computer won to Garry in 2 hours, then in 1 hour, then in 5 minutes. So this huge circle of training the Deep Blue computer against Garry. So it was calculated that the computer had learned in just a matter of few days. The computer has performed almost 12 million calculations and 12 million moves, learned those moves, and won against Garry. So my question to you is, and then they had to shut down the project because the computer was learning faster than they thought it's learning. It should be learning. So they have shut down the Deep Blue project. IBM shut it down in 1997 and 98 times. My question to you, Rohit, is why should we be scared about AI?
The question is, I have a counter question to you. Should we be?
No. Yeah. So why would IBM shut it down otherwise?
No, I think honestly, I would be sort of. Having built that AI system myself, right, or having done that for the last, at least, I'm not as actively involved in building it more, but to the days that I've done and I've built that, it's very difficult for me as someone who's built up to see any challenge with that, right? Because I sort of exactly know how that it learns, right? It's not a black box, mystery box for me. I exactly know what code I write and what it sort of looks at, what it's picking up, what it learns, and what that even learning means, what does actually do, and I know where it would not work also, right? So I know exactly. So in my instance, I don't see it as this whole powerful thing and this enigmatic thing that is going to take over things or all of that, right? So that's a challenge. And from my point, it seems like it's a computer program. I just know those 5 steps that's going to do, and then where it's going to go, where it's not going to work. And I know it's not going to work in a lot of circumstances where it's not trained for, right? So I think that's where I am coming from, right? And I don't see AI as a scary thing, at least not now. And again, in essence, the idea possibly where every AI research is going to is what we call as the AGI, right? The artificial general intelligence, where because most of the AI right now is very narrow and specific. So it works on medical images. There's some AI which works on conversational AI. There's some AI which works on different parts of but it's just very specific to that. And the idea is every upcoming research is trying to see whether it can build a general AI that can sort of pick up on different things. And honestly, even if it does, I would not be very scared, because even then I know what that programming, that's why I want to keep up on speed on what's actually happening, because if I lose that, then I will be scared. But if you know what it's exactly being used to do that, you won't be scared because you would know what it is, right? So I think that's where I am, at least where in terms of being scared. So I'm definitely not. And I think if I read on the papers or research papers that come up, I would still not be afraid.
All right, excellent, wonderful. So you basically have confidence in what you're doing. Excellent, wonderful. Joanna, one question has been asked to you. So Joanna, he's asking, are you interested in moving towards South Africa and partnering with a reseller in South Africa?
Yeah, I think I mentioned, I replied to a message that he could message me on LinkedIn. Yeah, we're always very open to expand anything, of course, that could like be our bridge to a different continent, different country. We're always open to that, because that's really the main goal in a decade, or
perhaps you wanted some reassurance from you on camera, and apart from on LinkedIn. Great. So yes, she's open. yes, she'll help you out. Great, wonderful, guys. I think we are good. Before I wrap up the entire thing, if anybody wants to say something, share something, help others, or share what you have been learning, how you've been growing, what's your secret of success. If you want to share something, this is the time.
I could start, Amit?
Be my guest.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, thanks so much, everyone, for staying to us until to this point. I just want to share, just to end this, just the bridge of technology in healthcare. It has done a lot of good things, not just for the patients, but also for the staff. And that's what we've been aiming from the beginning of time, even myself personally. Like, I've been a healthcare professional for so many years. And technology, it was just getting better. It would just keep on helping us work innovatively, and so many use cases have been proven, and there's going to be for sure a lot more things will be proven by the healthcare technology in the future. And I really am sure that this is just the beginning of a lot more that we could see. So we shouldn't be scared. Actually, it complements on our way of living, helps us be better, help us in so many ways. So we should just see it as a positive thing. And I know I could tell other people would be scared or won't even touch healthcare technology. But honestly, I assure you, me as well as a nurse who's been using the basic stuff from before, from handwriting, and now everything is digitalization. It will just get better starting to this point. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Great. Excellent. Thank you, Joanna.
Maybe I can just possibly go next. So I think one possibly just, I think, message that I wanted to share was, I think, when I started from, I think, unlike Joanna, I sort of started more from the tech side of things and moved to health, unlike where she started from health and then moved into tech, right? So it's been a completely opposite journey. And I think my message to everyone sort of would be that I think healthcare honestly did from the same reason that Tim also mentioned, is that this strive for impact that you want to do, right? I was with an investment bank earlier, which I very hardly saw much of an impact. And that's the reason I wanted to work in healthcare, was sort of to see that impact, because you can actually visualize that impact. And in doing that, obviously, coming from a tech background, you really do not understand the nitty-gritties of healthcare right away in that sense, right? So it did take me a bit of time to get there. But I think the only thing that I would want to say is that it's all possible. I mean, even if you're not a healthcare professional and you want to make that impact, you just come from some other background, you can still sort of do that. I think the only skill that sort of has been helpful Personally for me is the ability to just learn, right? I think learn new things. I think that has just been incredibly helpful. Honestly, even and that sort of came because of the fact that you were in a field like AI where things are always rapidly changing. So because of that, you sort of naturally have that ability to pick up new things. But just that one single ability sort of has been very helpful. And I would just like to say that agree with Joanna completely that health tech is poised to change. It's sort of changing a lot of things in a very positive way. And going future, things would look very different. I'm very sure in another 50 years or possibly so, healthcare would be very, very, very different. And all of us have a chance to create an impact. Whether whatever your background, whether you're in healthcare moving to tech or in tech moving to healthcare, it's not a big challenge. Just if you want to create that impact, just jump on, and we'll always be there to help you. I think whoever has sort of started doing that journey. So definitely that's the only positive thing I would say.
Fabulous, fabulous. Keep learning, keep learning. That's the message from Rohit. Tim, over to you.
Yeah, I really can agree with Rohit and Joanna that it's a learning journey in the end. And since we know, because the topic is health tech, right? So technology is lowering the barriers for advancement, human advancement. So I can really very open-minded say to everyone, please, if you have some ideas, go for it. So be motivated because it has a direct impact on your people around you in your society or your users. And I think now it's the best time to really invest also your time in it, because as I said, the cost of of doing something good haven't been lower than now because it's easy to access. So I really can motivate everyone, no matter if you're in a corporate environment or a startup environment. Go ahead, try out your ideas, use technology as long, people will benefit from it. To keep it user-centric.
Wonderful, wonderful, great tips. In the end, I think the very important message sent by Tim, Joanna, and Rohit is that learning, earning, there's time to learn, there's time to earn. I mean, in order to earn, you got to put the L, learn. So learn and earn is the difference of L. If you want to earn, put a L, put a learn first. And that's very important message. And put all the learnings into practice. I mean, knowledge is of no value unless you practice it, unless you implement it. So that's a very important message. Thank you so much, guys. You have been such great givers. Shared great things about your learning experiences, your journey, your success, your mistakes, your views, your perspective, your values. Thank you so much. You have been all great givers. I mean, givers can move with their chest up and chin up, and you can definitely do that. Thank you very much for being on tonight's show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.